Hey friends, what's up? Phillip here with Points with Phillip, and I actually have an incredible announcement, and one that I'm really excited to share with you guys. And that's that I win once again the proud holder of an American Express Gold Card. And well, I have to talk to you about my journey and where I got, how I started and why I'm here. And to do that, let's go ahead and get back to the beginning. But before we do that, go ahead and hit like and subscribe, please, if you can. That really helps me out. It helps me to figure out if I'm doing something that is helpful to a lot of people like you. But it also helps get more people to watch our videos. It helps out a lot with the algorithm. So anyway, thank you very much for doing that. But now that that's out of the way, let's get into why I decided to get the American Express Gold Card once again. So a couple of weeks ago, I posted a video about I got rid of it, and it was the worst mistake I'd ever made. And so, well, that kind of stuck with me for a little bit. So I actually used to have the American Express Gold Card. So this is actually the white gold card that I had. And I wasn't really a fan, so I ended up actually getting a newer, a different card that had the traditional gold design on it. So this is my old one. But what happened is, so I got this card in February of last year, and I actually signed up through Credit Karma, which I talked about in another one of my videos. And I got a 60,000 point offer for $6,000 in spend over 6 months. And it really was not the best offer I could have gotten, but it is what it is in the past. But last February, so this past February, I decided to get rid of this card because I decided that I had, I actually found out that I had an incredible upgrade to the American Express Platinum card. And that was 125,000 points after $6,000 of spend over 6 months. And so that is something that I'm still working towards today with that card. And I've definitely gotten a lot of use out of that card. But one thing that's become abundantly clear is when I'm spending towards that sign-up bonus, most of those purchases are going to be 1 point per dollar. And so the first time my statement closed and I paid it off and I had my points hit my account, I realized that I was making a lot fewer points on my everyday spend than I did with the American Express Gold Card. And so I was like, wow, I really need this thing back because, well, it really was a very huge value to me. And let's get into it. But before we get into that, let's get into the top lines of this card. So what's going on with it? So it has a $325 annual fee. Now, I actually got this offer as an upgrade from my American Express Green Card. And so this is 30,000 points after $1,000 in spend over 6 months. And so, well, 30,000 points is either you can value it at $300, you can value it at $600. But anyway, it's nothing to, stare down at, right? So it's not a lot of points, but it's not a high spend requirement either. So I am working on a couple of sign-up bonuses right now for spends. So this is something that helped me get to where I wanted to go, but also helped me to kind of not go too crazy with my other sign-up bonuses. And so that's kind of the reason why I'm here today, right? Now, this card also gets $120 in Uber credits, $120 in dining credits each year, $100 in Resi credits, and then another $84 in Dunkin' credits. So you have to figure out kind of what's going on with that in order to actually get your value from it. So why did I want the American Express Gold Card back? So there's a lot of people, if you take a look at, if you search American Express Gold Card on YouTube, you can find hundreds of videos of people saying it is the single worst card in existence. And there's a lot of opinions about that, and I definitely clearly am on the other camp, right? I love the American Express Gold Card. So the reason I wanted it back is my wife and I spend a decent amount of money on food purchases each year. So I have currently the business gold card that I have because of the sign-up bonus that I got this past spring, and I have been using it for dining purchases, but the grocery spend hasn't been appropriately optimized. So plus also I get a lot of really great use out of the credits, and I'll talk to you about that here in a second. But also the American Express Gold Card, we have to talk about the fact that it's basically the backbone of the American Express trifecta or quadfecta. And of course, the trifecta here is the American Express Blue Business Plus at the bottom with no annual fee, the American Express Gold Card with 325 annual fee, but you get 4x points per dollar on dining and grocery purchases. And then of course, you have the Platinum Card, which kind of runs out the trifecta, and that gets 5 points per dollar on all airfare purchases, 5 points per dollar on hotel purchases made through the travel portal, and then 1 point per dollar on everything else. So if you take a look at those earners though, the gold card is going to do most of the heavy lifting when people say, it's easy to get American Express membership rewards points. And that's kind of true, right? For anybody who actually loves American Express for their ability to earn those cards, they're really pretty much talking about the American Express gold card. And so that's one thing that I really want to focus on and wanted to continue to focus on. So that's talked about why I wanted the card again. Now let's go ahead and rewind all the way back to February of 2024. So we already talked about the fact that I got a lower spending bonus because I actually ended up just, I was perusing Credit Karma and I ended up just seeing the first thing I got. And this was before I was really, really into the credit card situation and like how to optimize it for points and miles and for international travel. But the past is in the past, and I've definitely learned my lesson, and I've figured out how to optimize that spend moving forward. So now here's the thing. So before then, this is what I was able to do. So I did grocery shopping at Aldi pretty regularly, but I also did Amazon delivery. And so for the Amazon delivery, first of all, it was actually free as part of Prime at the time. It's no longer free as a part of Prime, but that's here nor there. I used my my Chase Amazon Prime Visa card for that because it gets 5% cash back on all Amazon purchases, including the grocery delivery service. So I had pretty much everything was optimized before I had the gold. Well, it wasn't optimized because I had Aldi and then I had Amazon delivery, and so only one of those was getting 5%, and I wasn't really doing a whole lot towards that Aldi part. Now, my wife and I go to Publix and a little bit of Target mixed in as well. We also usually like to go out to eat at least once, maybe twice a week, if on a good month. And then we also kind of do DoorDash, Uber Eats, or Grubhub at least 3 or 4 times a month, or at least we did before. So, and then also I go past a Starbucks and a Dunkin' Donuts on my way into school in the morning, and so I decided I did go to Dunkin' quite a bit, at least 3 or 4 times a month, and so all of my spending patterns appear to kind of align with these credits. And well, my real kind of experience has kind of shown that through. So let's take a look at the magic of the gold card. Why am I excited about it? Why do I have an emotional attachment to this piece of metal that has some plastic glued to it, right? This is what gets me. This is why I needed to have the card in my wallet. So I really have gotten a lot of use out of American Express points. So if we're talking about the business class redemptions from Air France, from Virgin Atlantic, we're taking a look at about an average of 4 to 5 cents per point across all of my redemptions so far. And so it also matches my family spend nearly exactly. We tend to do more heavily towards food-related purchases, and then we also use the catch-all cards like the Venture card or the Blue Business Plus for everything else like shopping. So the credits go a long way towards making the card make sense as well. And so if you can take a look at the dining or the credits, let's figure out how it works for me, and maybe hopefully that can help you figure out how it can work for you. So let's discuss the dining credit. So it's $10 as a statement credit every month. You can use it at Grubhub, Cheesecake Factory, Goldbelly, Wine.com, and Five Guys. And so the only one I do kind of reliably well is Grubhub. So in my area, the Grubhub is the most frustrating food delivery app that we have. So it's always the one that gets the most orders wrong. It's always the one where the driver is actually secretly picking up for someone else's order on a different app, and they go 5 miles out of the way, and it ends up being an hour and a half late. So we don't really use Grubhub for delivery, but about 4 of the closest restaurants for lunch that's by my office for my day job downtown, they allow Grubhub for pickup orders, and more importantly, they don't charge anything extra for using Grubhub for those pickup orders. So I'm already eating lunch downtown, except now I get to do it for at least 1 lunch is picked up because of the dining credit with the American Express Gold Card. So also, a fun fact to know, if you do get Amazon Prime, if you do have an Amazon Prime customer, you get discounted Grubhub fees as a perk. with that subscription. So you still save on deliveries as well if you decide to go that road. We've learned our lesson. It's either going to be Uber Eats or Dash Pass for us. And we get our Dash Pass because of our Chase Sapphire Preferred now for free. So that's also nice. So let's take a look at the rest of the dining credit. So we mentioned a couple different places, and I'm going to pick on the Cheesecake Factory for a little bit. I haven't been to the Cheesecake Factory in years. And now this isn't a knock on the factory. I actually used to work at the one in Miami, and well, I really loved it. But the only ones near me are in touristy areas. I'm in Orlando. And they usually have really long waits, and of course, Cheesecake Factory doesn't have a policy of allowing reservations, and well, honestly, my wife and I, we value our time, so if a restaurant doesn't have reservations, we probably aren't going. And so that is kind of the reason why we don't really use the Cheesecake Factory. Now, let's take a look at Goldbelly. So Goldbelly is an interesting food delivery service program. So far I've only used it about 3 times. So I used it once for a dessert cake, a praline dessert cake for Thanksgiving that we had one year. And that was really nice. I also used it again for Chicago deep dish pizza shipped directly from Chicago. Now, of course, it was frozen, but it had Chicago on the return label, so it made me feel like it was super duper special. And then the last time was for getting New York bagels delivered, so that was something that I was interested in doing. It's great for what it is, but I don't use it month to month. And they've also made it more difficult to buy gift cards to store up that value. So before this month, you were able to buy gift cards in $10 increments. However, now there's a minimum of $25. So it's really difficult to store value if you want to use Grubhub for this credit. So I haven't really used it, don't plan on using it too much in the future. And that's why I'm not really talking about. So and again, for Five Guys, I am on the weight loss shots, and it's working. And so Five Guys is pretty much out. Anything with greasy burgers and cheese, probably not going to be up my alley. So not going to use for Five Guys. So let's take a look at the Uber credit now. So this one is actually kind of interesting and exciting in a couple different ways. So this comes in the form of Uber Cash that's posted to your account on the first of every single month. And for the gold card, you get $10 of that Uber Cash just by holding the card and having the gold card associated with your Uber account. So it doesn't roll over though, so you have to use it each month. But it does stack with other cards that offer a similar credit. So the Platinum offers $15 per month. And then I think in December it's like $20 or $25 per month. And so you can actually get $10 if you have the gold card, and then $15 if you have the Platinum card. And that becomes $25 that you get to use for any sort of Uber purchase. And that can be Uber rides or it can be Uber Eats. So that's really interesting. So it doesn't work internationally though. My wife and I were in London a couple times this past year, and I tried to use it in London, but my Uber Cash actually just had a zero balance, so the $10 just magically disappeared. But it did actually come back when I returned to the States, and it actually happened both times. So, that's interesting. It's a little weird exception, but so you can't really use it if you're trying to Uber, say, from the airport in Paris to your hotel or something like that. But otherwise, it's pretty helpful. So if you're doing a lot of domestic travel, maybe that can still be helpful for you. So that's the Uber credit. Now let's take a look at the Dunkin' credit. So I use Dunkin' pretty regularly. You can load up the gift card in the app. And so this is kind of very similar to how Starbucks has it, where essentially you reload your gift card and you just kind of store that value until you're ready to use it. So on the first day of every month, I go ahead and I put in I reload my gift card for the minimum, which is $10. And then I get $7 back to me as a statement credit after that charge posts. And so one of the things that I like about Dunkin' is that the breakfast sandwiches are actually much better than Starbucks because they're not really microwaved. And they have some cool drink options as well. One of the things that's really great is you can actually customize your regular hot drip coffee. So if you want to have 2% milk and then 1 thing of sugar, you can put that in the app and it comes out exactly the same no matter who makes it, which is really nice. I like that kind of reliability, which is super nice. Now, I want to talk about Resi because Resi is something that's really kind of important to me in a weird sort of way. So how do I use it? So first of all, you have to go to a restaurant that appears on Resi. So you have to download the app, you have to search where you are, and if the restaurant appears on the Resi app and you use your gold card when you are in the restaurant, that purchase will, basically post for this credit. Now, so this credit is $50, every 6 months. And so that's a grand total of $100 in credits over the year, right? So here's the thing. So you actually don't need to have a reservation at the restaurant through Resy. You just have to go to the restaurant that's on Resy. Now, 2 restaurants my wife and I do date nights on are part of this program. So there's one that's really nice to us, really close to us, that's called Rustique. They're kind of interesting menu. They change it every quarter. They have a like seasonal thing. It's nice. And then we also most recently went to a place called the Ravenous Pig. And so it's really good. So it's kind of on the upper end, but it's not terribly overpriced. My wife and I kind of we had appetizers, desserts, things like that, and it really wasn't that much for when you think about what we got, right? So it's a solid value in my book, and so $50 off of a meal that my wife and I were going to do a couple times a year anyway is, well, that's easy to use, right? So there are a couple nicer restaurants downtown that my colleagues meet at every once in a while for business lunches. And so if my wife and I aren't going out to eat over the course of the last 6 months, then at least I can use it there. So there's a couple different options. Now, if it were a card where I had to use, say, $10 in Resy credits every single month, we might be having a different discussion, but the $50 for each 6 months is really, very easy to use. So let's sum it up. So there's no bones about it. This left a huge hole in my wallet when I upgraded my old gold card to the platinum. I'm happy that the gold card is back, and I'm in the very happy group of people that appear to be targeted for this card. So I am in a decently sized East Coast city, and so and I'm in the appropriate age bracket. So this is actually something that American Express seems to be tailored towards people that live a lifestyle that's similar to mine. And so it's very easy to, first of all, get great value from the credits, but I also get highly outsized value from my points that I get from spending on the card. And so this is reason why the American Express Gold Card will dominate my wallet for the foreseeable future, and we'll see what happens with as new card issuers come out with new cards, as I kind of readjust with what's going on. But as far as I can tell right now, well, this is going to hold a very treasure place in my wallet and will into the future. But anyway, thanks so much for joining me here. I hope that you like the gold card as much as I do, but if you do or if you don't, please let me know in those comments below, because, well, I would love to hear from you and learn more about what you think about this very kind of polarizing kind of card. But anyway, thanks so much for joining me once again, and I will see you again next time.